The government admits inadequacy and will repeal a days-old law requiring commuters to buckle up on buses. Hong Kong's economy last year performs better than what officials and the market expect, growing by 3.5% in the whole year. And Japan probes two possibly linked attacks, with robbers reportedly targeting Hong Kong-bound Japanese yen. Good evening. You're watching Cable News. I'm Jeremy Zhu. Less than a week since implementation, the government now plans to scrap the legal clauses mandating the use of seatbelts on buses, saying it has failed to achieve its purpose. Transport Chief Mabel Chen admitted inadequacy in drafting the provisions and vowed to gauge public views before writing up an improved version. Jamie Liu tells us more.
The dramatic reversal came after Doreen Kong, a former lawmaker who was on the committee that scrutinized the law, questioned its scope. Referring to the provisions, she said the buckle up or face a fine law should only apply on buses registered from the enforcement date on January 25th. That would mean passengers on existing buses are actually not covered by the rule and contradict at least two government press releases which say the use of the devices are a must regardless of when the vehicle is registered. After consulting with the Department of Justice, Secretary for Transport and Logistics Mabel Chen admitted the provisions are technically inadequate and fail to fully reflect its intention. As a result, when it is enforced and when residents try to understand it, different interpretations have arisen and there may be confusion. I must admit this is not ideal, she said. She said the authorities will do away with the relevant clauses, a move that would effectively scrap the compulsory seatbelt rule on buses. She pledged to table the repeal as soon as possible and gauge public views to perfect the provisions in the future. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
Hong Kong's economy grew by 3.5% in 2025, according to advanced estimates, outperforming both government and market forecasts of 3.2%. In the fourth quarter, gross domestic product rose 3.8% year-on-year, faster than the 3.7% growth in the previous quarter and above market expectations of 3%. After a seasonal adjustment, the economy expanded by 1% over the third quarter. Breaking down the major components of GDP, private consumption expenditure grew 2.5% year-on-year in the fourth quarter, with full-year growth at 1.6%. Government spending growth has slowed down to 1.4%. Total exports of goods saw a notable rebound, rising 15.5% in real terms in the fourth quarter year-on-year, bringing the full-year increase to 12%. A government spokesperson said the economy is expected to maintain positive momentum in 2026, supported by global expansion, stronger confidence, and anticipated U.S. interest rate cuts. Two Japanese men were robbed of almost 3 million Hong Kong dollars worth of Japanese yen in a street robbery in Shanwan. Police have reportedly arrested the suspects at the airport. Police officers escorted the victims back to the station for investigation. The two victims, aged 27 and 51, arrived in Hong Kong by air at around 7:30 a.m. While in the arrivals hall, they reportedly had a dispute over collecting their luggage. They later left by taxi carrying around 90 million yen in a backpack and a suitcase. At about 9 a.m., when the taxi arrived near an exchange shop on Devil Road Central and the men were getting out, they were ambushed by two robbers. The assailants snatched a backpack containing roughly 58 million yen, then fled in a waiting white private car towards the Western Harbor Tunnel. Police mobilized multiple patrol cars after receiving the report and set up checkpoints along major trunk roads in Kowloon. Meanwhile, Japanese police are investigating two possibly linked cash attacks a few hours apart after robbers made off with suitcases holding more than 400 million Japanese yen in the city center and then struck again at Haneda Airport. Both sums of money are reportedly being transported to Hong Kong. The Chinese embassy has urged local police to solve the case as soon as possible. Evelyn Bai has more.
In the late Thursday evening heist that took place in a busy downtown area in Tokyo, 3 robbers ambushed 5 people, 2 Chinese and 3 Japanese nationals, when they were loading 3 suitcases containing about 21 million Hong Kong dollars worth of Japanese yen in cash into a car. One of the Chinese was sprayed with what appeared to be tear gas, after which the suitcases were stolen. The 5 individuals claimed the cash was being transported for currency exchange transactions to Hong Kong. Shortly after, a man around 50 years old was slightly injured in a hit and run about 100 meters from the scene. A blue vehicle was found abandoned nearby. Detectives suspect that this was committed by robbers fleeing the scene. Initial descriptions include a male suspect about 170 centimeters tall, wearing a knit cap, black jacket and pants. Separately, in the early hours of Friday morning, a man in his 50s with 190 million yen in cash was also attacked with pepper spray by a trio at a car park at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. The cash, which was not stolen, was reportedly also destined for Hong Kong. The robbers fled the scene in a vehicle. Police are investigating whether the perpetrators are part of the same gang. The Chinese embassy has lodged representations with Japanese police, urging the Japanese side to solve the case as soon as possible and effectively protect the safety and property of Chinese citizens in Japan. Again, it urges Chinese citizens to avoid traveling to Japan in the near term. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
In other news, Panama Supreme Court has ruled that a long-standing port concession held by Hong Kong conglomerate CK Hutchison is unconstitutional. CK Hutchison slammed the ruling as lacking legal basis, while Beijing said it will firmly safeguard the legitimate interests of Chinese enterprises. Best Learn reports.
Judges found that laws underpinning the 25-year concession and its 2021 extension breached the Constitution after an audit alleged serious irregularities and hundreds of millions of dollars in lost state revenue. In response, CK Hutchison's subsidiary Panama Ports Company said in a statement they have not been notified of such decision and that the new ruling is against the relevant legal framework and the law that approved the contract, contradicting Panama's own legal and contractual framework. In addition, the company said the new ruling forms part of a campaign by the Panamanian state to jeopardize the company and its investors and to target a diligent concessionary, undermining the reputation of Panama as a reliable jurisdiction. PPC and its investors continue to permanently reserve all rights, including recourse to national and international legal proceedings. In Beijing, the Foreign Ministry said China will take all necessary measures to resolutely safeguard the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese enterprises. Meanwhile, the Hong Kong government said it strongly disapproves of and firmly rejects the ruling, saying all Hong Kong enterprises should receive fair and reasonable treatment and protection. CK Hutchison has been trying to sell its global port portfolio, including the Panama assets, to a consortium led by BlackRock, a deal already caught up in U.S.-China geopolitical tensions over control of the strategic waterway. Best Learn Cable News.
12 people have fallen ill with suspected food poisoning after consuming raw oysters and sashimi at a Japanese restaurant in Causeway Bay. 1 man and 11 women developed symptoms including diarrhea, abdominal pain, vomiting, and fever after dining at Harvest House on Jardins Bazaar this past Monday. One of those affected required hospitalization. The Center for Health Protection and the Food and Environmental Hygiene Department have launched an investigation. Officers have collected food and environmental samples from the restaurant for testing. The Center for Food Safety's initial investigation found the restaurant's food handling processes posed a risk of cross-contamination. The restaurant has been instructed to immediately suspend the sale of the implicated dishes and to carry out thorough cleaning and disinfection. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer encouraged UK and Chinese businesses to deepen ties in order to build mutual trust and respect, a day after a series of outcomes were announced, including lower tariffs and relaxed visa rules for British citizens. Evelyn Bai reports.
Speaking at the UK-China Business Forum, Starmer said both sides had warmly engaged and made some real progress. He described the meeting the previous day with President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang as historic, as it was the first visit by a British Prime Minister to China since 2018.
I fundamentally believe that the more we engage, the more we exchange, the more we take advantage of the opening of access to opportunities, business, art and culture and so many others, then that is the way that we build the mutual trust and respect that is so important.
Thursday's meeting saw agreements to Beijing halving the tariffs on Scotch whisky to 5% from 10% and providing 30-day visa-free entry for British citizens. Starmer traveled to Shanghai in the afternoon, paying a visit to Yuyuan Garden and exchanging with students.
Oh, please, yes.
As Starmer continued the landmark visit, US President Donald Trump warned the UK against doing business with China.
Well, it's very dangerous for them to do that, and it's even more dangerous, I think, for Canada to get into business with China. Canada is not doing well. They're doing very poorly, and you can't look at China as the answer. I know China very well. I know President Xi's a friend of mine. I know him very well, but that's a big hurdle to go over when you get Canada.
On Saturday, the British leader will head to Tokyo for a working dinner with his Japanese counterpart, Sanai Takaichi. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
United States President Donald Trump said he plans to speak with Iran even as American forces deployed another warship to the Middle East. Amid threats of a U.S. strike, Iran announced live-fire naval drills in the Strait of Hormuz, an important oil export route. Jamie Liu reports.
The U.S. Navy released photos showing naval officers directing warplanes such as Super Hornet fighters and Seahawk helicopters on the deck of the carrier USS Abraham Lincoln, which is now in the Middle East. Reuters reported that destroyer USS Delbert D. Black has also entered the region, bringing the total number of warships there to at least 10. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth warned that the military is ready to carry out whatever the president decides, and Iran has all the options to make a deal. Speaking at another occasion, Trump said he plans to speak with Iran and that it would be great if the U.S. did not have to use the warships.
Can you say what the message was that you shared with Iranians?
Well, I told them two things. Number one, no nuclear. And number two, stop killing protesters. They're killing them by the thousands. You know, I stopped 837 hangings 2 weeks ago. But they're going to have to do something.
As tensions build, Iran's Revolutionary Guard naval forces said they will conduct live-fire exercises in the Strait of Hormuz for 2 days starting Sunday. The strait is a strategic waterway through which around 20% of the world's oil supply passes. The Financial Times reported that Gulf powers, including Qatar and the United Arab Emirates, have been engaging with both the US and Iran in a bid to de-escalate tensions. Turkey is to host Iran's foreign minister for talks. Jamie Liu, Cable News.
A major landslide has struck a small town in Sicily, Italy. The affected area spans more than 4 kilometers, prompting authorities to evacuate around 1,500 people. Aerial footage reveals the extent of the landslide, which stretches for 4 kilometers. Homes built on the hillside were partially swept away with the mudslide, leaving behind a steep cliff face. Several roads have been damaged and closed. Authorities say the town of Niscemi in south-central Sicily was hit by the landslide on Sunday following heavy rainfall. An estimated 350 cubic meters of earth collapsed, equivalent to the volume of 6 to 11 standard shipping containers. A state of emergency has been declared for the area. The army has been deployed to assist recovery efforts and transport heavy machinery. Now let's take a look at the stock market. The Hang Seng Index ended the day down 580 points. Top active stocks of the day. Tencent was down $16. Alibaba was down $4.10. Ping An was down 60 cents. And Xiaomi was down $1.12. Foreign exchange against the Hong Kong dollar. The Japanese yen 50.75. Australian dollar 5.48. Onto the weather now. Mainly cloudy with 1 or 2 rain patches. The visibility will relatively low in some areas at first. Bright periods in the afternoon tomorrow, becoming cooler tomorrow night. Temperatures will range between 17 and 21 degrees. That's our news tonight. I'm Jeremy Zhu. Thanks for watching and good night.